Today we're going to be learning section 5.3, multiplying polynomials. So yesterday we worked on section 5.2, adding and subtracting polynomials, which says if you have the same exact terms, which means the same exact variables, and those variables have the same exact exponents, and you can combine them together through addition and subtraction. Like x squared plus 2x squared would be 3x squared, since you have 1 and then 2 more. Altogether you would have 3. But today we are now multiplying polynomials, and polynomial multiplication works a little bit different. So in example 1, we're multiplying a polynomial by a monomial. And I know that sounds like it's a different language. A polynomial is a series of different terms. A monomial is just one single term. So all 4 of these examples, there's one number being multiplied by everything inside of parentheses. This is still one number since it's one term. This is one term. This is one term. So what we're going to do here when we're multiplying polynomials by one single number is basically just use the distributive property. So you multiply 2 times the number on the inside here, which is x, and 2 times this number here, which is negative 5, and 2 times x is 2x, 2 times negative 5 is negative 10, so this would be simplified 2x minus 10. And then for letter B, now we're multiplying 6 and negative 3z by 4z. So when you're multiplying terms that have variables, you multiply the coefficient numbers together, like 4 times 6 is 24, and then since it's 4z, you would add the z to it. And then we multiply 4z times negative 3z. So look at the coefficient numbers first. 4 times negative 3, that's going to be a negative 12. And then just be very careful because we're multiplying z times another z. So now we have to use the exponent rules from last section because we have 2 terms that are being multiplied that have the same base, and because of that you are able to add the exponents. This becomes z squared. So the final answer would be 24z minus 12z squared. You can't simplify that because these two things are not like terms. They're both z's, but because one has an exponent of 2 and the other one doesn't, they cannot be combined all together, so that would just be the final answer for that one. For letter C, we're multiplying each one of these 4 terms on the inside by x to the 3rd power. So the first one we're going to be doing is x to the 3rd power times x to the 4th power. Using exponent rules from before, we know that that would be x to the 7th power. Then we're going to be multiplying x to the 3rd power times negative 2x to the 3rd power. I like to put my coefficient numbers in first and get those out of the way. That's just going to be 1 times negative 2 basically, so I'm going to put a negative 2 out front, and then x to the 3rd power times x to the 3rd power would be x to the 6th power. Moving down the line, now we have x to the 3rd power times 5x. Some of you might not need to show this work on the side, but I think it is helpful if you are struggling. This will become a positive 5x to the 4th power. Since there's 3 and 1 more, this will be to the 4th power. And then the very last one is going to be x to the 3rd power times negative 6. And that would just be negative 6x to the 3rd power. So that will be our final answer here. And this is actually already in standard form, so this is good to go. There's no simplifying I can do here because all of those variables, all of those x's have different exponents, so they're not like terms. All right, letter D, the next one we're going to be multiplying negative 3a squared times 8. So I'm just going to be multiplying the negative 3 times 8 and get negative 24. And then since it's an a squared, it'll keep that. The next one, just be very careful, this is a negative 3a squared times negative 2a. Well, negative 3 times negative 2 is a positive 6. And a squared times a will be a to the 3rd power. And then the last one is negative 3a squared times negative a squared. This is going to turn into a positive 3 since the negative times the negative. And a squared times a squared is a to the 4th power. Now technically you're supposed to put this in order, which would mean it in standard form for polynomials. You want the term that has the largest exponent first. So technically the answer would be 3a to the 4th power, then plus 6a to the 3rd power, then minus 24a squared. So on a web assign, they might be particular in how you answer your how you put in your final answer, and usually you would want to have the largest exponent first and then move your way down to get to the very smallest one. So if you could please pause the video and try these next two problems and then press play when you're done. Let's go over these answers. So hopefully you took the time to do these on your own. 2y times 5 would be 10y. 2y times negative 1y would be negative 2y squared. And then in standard form, you would actually want to put the negative 2y squared first plus 10y, because the exponent for the y squared is larger than the just plain y. And then the last one, negative 2m squared times 7 would be negative 14m squared. Negative 2m squared times negative 4m will be a positive 8m to the third power. And then negative 2m squared times a positive 2m squared will be a negative 4, since negative 2 times positive 2 is negative 4, m to the fourth power. And then putting this in standard form, the largest exponent is the m to the fourth. So that is a negative 4m to the fourth power. And then the next one is 8m to the third power. And then minus 14m squared. That would be the final answer in the correct form. All right, so in all of these examples, we multiplied a polynomial by a monomial, which meant it was just one term. Now we are going to be multiplying a binomial by another binomial. That means there's going to be two terms in each of the parts. There's an acronym called FOIL, which helps us remember how to do this. And the F stands for first. The O stands for outer. The I stands for inner. And L stands for last. So when you're looking at these problems here in like A and B, you can see that there's two terms. 1, 2 in the first one and 1, 2 in the second. So a binomial is two terms by two terms. In order to multiply these things out, you're essentially using the distributive property, but because there's more than one term in that first part, which we're used to just seeing one number here and not two, we can use this acronym to help us remember how to multiply all of these things by everything else without missing anything. So the first means you multiply the two first terms in each little part. So that means you would multiply 2y times 5y. 2y times 5y would be 10y squared. The outer means the outermost terms. That's 2y and negative 1. So 2y times negative 1 is negative 2y. Inner is the innermost terms. That would be 3 and 5y. That's a positive 15y. And then last would be the last term in each. That's 3 and negative 1. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. After you multiply everything out, which is basically this acronym just helping us to remember that 2y needs to be multiplied by 5y, and 2y needs to be multiplied by negative 1, and 3 needs to be multiplied by 5y, and 3 needs to be multiplied by negative 1. It helps us to remember, but it's not necessarily needed if you understand that each term here needs to be multiplied by each term here, and this needs to be multiplied by that and that. But then once you get your final answer here, there usually will be some ways that you can simplify that final answer by combining like terms. So if you look in the middle here, this negative 2y and the 15y are like terms because they both have the same variable and the variable has the same exact exponent. So negative 2 plus 15 is 13y. So that's what this in the middle becomes. So this is going to be 10y squared plus 13y minus 3. That would be the final answer for that one. Okay. For the next one, first you would multiply the first numbers in each little binomial, so that's 6a times 2a, that's 12a squared. And then the outer is 6a times negative 3, that's negative 18a. Inner is negative 1 times 2a, that's negative 2a. And last is negative 1 times negative 3, that's a positive 3. Once you multiply everything out, you will get 4 terms, and then you usually will be able to simplify them. Negative 18a and negative 2a can be combined together to be negative 20a. So this would be 12a squared minus 20a plus 3 as your final answer. So if you would like to take a minute and try the next two problems, please pause this video and then press play when you're done. All right, let's go over these answers. The first thing I'm going to multiply is 3x times x, that's 3x squared. Then 3x times negative 4, that's negative 12x. 1 times x is 1x, and then 1 times negative 4 is negative 4. So altogether we would have 3x squared, and then negative 12x plus 1x is negative 11x, and then this would be a minus 4 at the end. That would be the answer in the correct format. The next one will be 10x squared minus 30x minus 4x, and then plus 12. Combining the like terms in the center, negative 3x minus 4x would be negative 34x. This would be 10x squared minus 34x plus 12. And the last thing we're going to do today is multiply a trinomial by a binomial. So that means that we're going to be now multiplying something that has 3 terms, so 1, 2, 3 terms, that's what trinomial means, and then we're going to be multiplying something with 3 with something by 2, that's what bi means. So this has 2 terms, this has 3 terms. Well, when you're multiplying something that has 2 terms by something that has 3 terms, in the end you're going to have 6 total terms when you multiply everything out, and then you will be able to combine anything that you can. There is no fancy acronym for this, like the last one was FOIL, which helped us remember, but the way to multiply a trinomial by a binomial is the same thing as multiplying a binomial by a binomial. You just have to make sure that each term gets multiplied by the other terms in the other parenthesis set. So what I mean by that is you have to multiply this z here by everything over here. So I have to multiply z by z squared, z by negative 4z, and z by 4. And I also need to multiply 2 times z squared, 2 times negative 4c, and 2 times 4. So you're going to be doing multiplication 6 times, and then you'll be getting 6 separate little answers. So let's start with z times z squared. Well, that's z to the first power times z to the second power, and that simplifies to be z to the third power. And then moving down the line, z times negative 4z is negative 4z squared, and then z times 4 is a positive 4z. So I have these 3 terms for multiplying z by everything on the right-hand side. Now I need to multiply 2 times everything on the right-hand side. 2 times z squared is 2z squared. 2 times negative 4z is negative 8z. And 2 times 4 is 8. Once you have this, then it's time to combine any like terms and put it in the correct order. The correct order means the largest exponent first. Z to the third power has no terms to combine with, so that's what I'm going to write down first. But then negative 4z squared can be combined with a positive 2z squared. Negative 4 plus 2 is a negative 2, so this will be negative 2z squared. 4z can be combined with a negative 8z. 4 minus 8 is negative 4, so this will be negative 4z. And then the plus 8 at the end doesn't have anything to combine with, so that would be the final answer for this one. All right, moving down the line, we are going to be multiplying 2x squared by everything on the right-hand side. So, and then we'll be multiplying negative 3 by everything on the right-hand side. So 2x squared times 2x squared is 4x to the 4th power because we're adding the exponents, remember. 2x squared times negative 2x is negative 4x to the 3rd power. 2x squared times 3 is a positive 6x squared. Then multiplying negative 3 by everything, negative 3 times 2x squared is negative 6x squared. Negative 3 times negative 2x is a positive 6x, and negative 3 times 3 is negative 9. Once you have that, it's time to combine like terms. There are no other exponents with the exponent of 4, so that's the only one we have here. There are no exponents of 3, so this would just be minus 4x to the 3rd. And then the x squareds here, I have 6x squared and a negative 6x squared. They end up actually canceling out, so you don't have to write like plus 0x squared or anything like that. Those just go away. And then plus 6x and minus 9 would be your final answer for that one. So please pause the video, try this problem on your own, and press play when you're ready to go over the answer. Okay, let's go over the answer to this one. We're going to multiply x by x squared, that's x to the 3rd power. X times negative 4x, that's negative 4x squared, and x times 6, that's a positive 6x. Then we're going to multiply negative 1 times x squared, that's negative x squared. Negative 1 times negative 4x is a positive 4x, and negative 1 times 6, that's negative 6. So combining like terms, x to the third power, I have negative 4x squared with a negative 1x squared that will combine to be negative 5x squared. 6x plus 4x is 10x, and then minus 6 would be your final answer for that. Now head over to Schoology to look at the next assignment for the day.